Hi, my name is Peter Morleon, and Tracy from HitSubscribe asked me to answer the question about how many hours software engineers worked. I also wrote about this for the Make Me a Programmer blog. Now, there's this weird idea that software engineers work insane hours, like 60 to 80 hours a week. Not in the least among software engineers themselves. This is kept alive by this sort of macho hacker cultures that live among programmers that believe they're real programmers, and anyone who works less than them or who doesn't spend all their free time programming isn't a real programmer. Now, I don't know the exact origin of this idea, and it doesn't even matter, but it does pose an interesting question. How many hours do we work, or how many hours should we work? Well, I can't really say because it depends on so many factors, like where you live, for example. Certain cultures and societies are geared to longer hours than others. You can find data on the internet suggesting that in some countries, average work hours are around 32, 33 hours a week, while in other countries it's up to 42. It also depends on where you work. There are big differences between industries or even individual companies. Like if you work at a startup, you might have to work more hours than for some government organization. But maybe the most important part is that you're an individual, and everyone's situation is very specific. You might be going through some hard times, or you might be young and have lots of time. Maybe you have kids, maybe you don't. Maybe you're a volunteer for some good cause in your spare time. It all depends. Some developers will talk in a bad tone about what's called the 9 to 5 developer, and they portray an image of someone who starts working at 9 o'clock in the morning and leaves at 5 in the afternoon and never does anything extra. They don't do any overtime. They don't spend time programming at home on open source projects or whatnot. And of course, these aren't the real or the good developers. Now, not only is this condescending, it also assumes that everyone's situation is equal, which it isn't. It can also lead to a toxic programmer culture or the toxic hacker culture of doing nothing else but programming and looking down on those who don't. The thing is, I've met programmers who work up to 60 hours a week, but only have poor business results to show for it. And then on the other end of the scale, there are great programmers who are smart, have exceptionally high technical and human skills, and who make every hour count. They combine work and personal life, but are still of a very high value to the company. So in regards to working hours, I would say that software engineering is a field or an occupation like any other. There are places with high pressure and places with low pressure. There are people that work a lot and there are those who work less, and that's all okay. Just keep in mind that those who work the most aren't necessarily the best. The only thing that does differ from many other jobs, in my opinion, is learning. I'm not sure there are many other fields where skills and knowledge where it becomes stale so fast. And yet, many companies, or not many companies, invest a lot of time and effort into their employees and into getting them to learn new skills. In my experience, not many companies continuously let people learn new technologies or new frameworks. On the one hand, of course, this is understandable because the latest new JavaScript framework, for example, isn't relevant for the company or as valuable as what they are using at that moment. But on the other hand, if you want to learn new things, this means you're going to have to do it yourself, probably in your own spare time. And of course, this then only gives companies even less incentives to educate their people because they're doing it themselves anyway. But don't worry that this means you're going to have to spend hours and hours every week into learning new things. I find that if you follow a few blogs, maybe learn or follow a LinkedIn Learning or a Pluralsight course now and then you'll be fine. And this doesn't mean like 1 or 2 hours every week. There can be weeks where you don't spend extra time learning, and there can be weeks where 1 or 2 hours are enough. So Good luck with the work-life balance, and thanks for watching.